Hello, fans and enemies, and welcome to Breaking Ponies, where... What was our tagline this week?
Look, I haven't decided if I'm talking to you or not after what you did to me last week. Let's just
Oh,
get on with
come
it
on.
already.
At least it worked out in this episode.
Hmm. We'll see. We'll
Actually, no, it
see.
didn't. You still don't know what it also means.
No, exactly. Let's get on with this already.
So, yeah. Today we have episode 17, The Stairmaster, which is obviously a pun.
Oh, well,
That
yes.
didn't actually come into play until quite a ways into the episode.
No, they kind of let it hang for a bit.
Both of our episodes, I was kind of dreading this because both of the episodes today were Cutie Mark Crusader centric.
Yeah, this is the part where people started finding them annoying for obvious reasons.
So they're like, hey, we'll give you two episodes in a row.
Yeah,
Again, they need
yeah.
to space these out more.
Well, I guess it's just a case of whatever idea happened to occur. I mean, obviously, somebody in the group that creates them likes the Cutie Mark
Well,
Crusaders
if
at
they
this
didn't create
point.
them, they wouldn't have made it to air. I mean, if they didn't like them when they
Exactly.
created them, they wouldn't have made it to air. I can understand the appeal of the characters from a writing standpoint because they do lend themselves to very interesting situations.
But that
It's
doesn't
like
stop them being kind of annoying.
which I didn't think they were annoying. They're endearing enough, I guess. But yes, in this one we start off with Rarity, who is very busy trying to finish a project for a customer in Trottingham,
Yeah, Trottingham, more pony-based
of course.
location puns.
Or
I told you they get worse as the show goes on, okay? So just you'll have to go with it.
I'm excited to see where the rest of the puns are going to go.
Now there aren't too many more, at least none that I can remember off the top of my head. But there are other locations, trust me.
Well, obviously, but so the Crusaders obviously want to try to have again. They want to have a sleepover because that's what girls do, I guess. But
Well, yeah, at least it makes sense because these girls are younger,
yeah,
so
so yeah, Rarity's like, no, you can't be here. You can't. You're gonna screw everything up. So Fluttershy agrees to take them for the evening,
hmm
and they're hesitant that she's able to do it. But she's like, I can handle animals. Of course, I can handle children.
What is that old saying? Never work with children or animals?
Yeah, that's what it is. They work with children animal because they easily upstage you.
Oh
But
yes.
Fluttershy has her secret weapon, which has never been established previously, and is it used later?
I think they mention it a few times later, but I don't think it's ever actually used as a thing. I
Ugh.
can't remember it being
So
used
again, it's
again.
something that occurs in this episode and then never occurs again.
And they do mention it. I'm sure they mention it a couple of times in the future, but it's well, she establishes herself that she herself doesn't like to use it. So, it's not like the Pinky sense that just
That
happens.
just
You know,
happens and then it's gone.
yeah, and it happens and then it's gone. It's just she has this ability, but she doesn't like to use it. It just happens sometimes.
Because when she does use it, she is completely out of character for what she normally is. She's actually yelling at people and demanding things of them. Which isn't there an old saying, "The devil runs when a good man goes to war"?
Uh, Probably.
That's what it is with her stare power, with
It was
power of the
certainly the
stare.
animals run where when she decides to
Yeah, because
stare at
so
them.
when someone who has nothing to lose, like Fluttershy, get finally snaps, you better run because she uses the stare on you.
We'll get to that in a later episode. Trust me.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
So
it's
she's trying
hilarious.
to take care of the Crusaders, and they're wraking havoc on her cottage,
They're
and
typical kids, basically.
of
Let's
course
be
the kids are
honest.
they try to do all kinds of things. I can't remember what the hell they're doing. They're just I just have in my notes. They're their annoying little selves.
Yeah, pretty much.
And she wakes up to find that the chickens are missing because they set them all free.
Mm,
And so she used her stare to
accidentally.
get them back into the hut. And she's like, okay, now it's time for bed.
Yes, which doesn't really work very well.
Which doesn't work, but we do get to see that one of them is more inclined towards music, more musically inclined, which actually does come into play in the next episode.
In the next episode, yes.
So obviously, because the lullaby doesn't work too well, they don't sleep, and they end up going exploring because they find out that one of the chickens has escaped through the chicken wire. So they obviously go out into the forest to try to find it. The ever-free forest that has been established that not good things happen there.
Yeah, it's just a very creepy place that where lots of wild things live, and yeah, stuff happens.
Yes, bad stuff happens, like Twilight being turned to stone,
Mm.
which the episode really went pretty dark pretty fast once I saw that.
Yeah, I know it was pretty weird. Twilight. It's established sort of earlier in the episode. Twilight's heading into the forest to see Sakura to get some tea, which I thoroughly approve of. And stereotype. And and next time you see her, she's literally been turned into a statue. And Fluttershy completely panics because she realizes that this is bad,
And the thing that
understandably.
I noticed was that she didn't. She immediately knew what was happening. She immediately knew what was going on. She didn't. She wasn't confused about why she was a statue. She didn't think that. It's like, why would somebody make a statue of Twilight here? It's like, no, she knew exactly what was happening, which is interesting. I guess it kind of lends the fact that she knows about creatures.
Well, yeah, she knows about animals and, both good animals and bad animals. So maybe she just made the connection. I mean, it could be one of those times when sometimes you'll make a logical leap and sometimes you'll be bang on straight away, right? But you could just as easily be wrong. And I think that's kind of one of those things where she just thought, oh no, it's that specifically. I don't know, maybe. Or it could be the fact that they were running out of time in the episode and wanted to move it on.
Yeah, that's very much possible because it was kind of reaching the second act. So yes,
Mm.
obviously it's a cockatrice. I would have my money was on either basilisk or cockatrice. So
Well,
potato, potato.
well, yeah, I was gonna say they're essentially, they have sort of
Similar qualities, although from
similar
what I understand, the
qualities.
basilisk actually kills you.
Um, I think that depends which mythology you're
Yeah, which
looking at.
mythology it's based on. But yeah, in this case, it is a cockatrice, and which leads to an excellent out of context line from the episode that one of the kids says, "And you were mad at me for making this something dirty."
Yeah, the problem is that you just do that. You mentioned several lines throughout both of these episodes that the kids come out with purely innocently, and you said, "Oh, that sounds like an innuendo." It's like, "Oh, that's what she said." It's like, grow up. You're not Kenneth Williams, okay? You don't have to make a meow sound every time someone says something slightly suggestive.
But no, I just love these. Like, if I ever saw one of those cocker thingies, I'd just laugh at how silly it is.
Christ. You see what I have to deal with here, people? You see what I'm putting up with for the sake of your entertainment?
Oh.
Anyway,
So yeah, Fluttershy ends up staring down a cockatrice. So she must have a lot of confidence in her ability to be doing that because she does start to turn to stone.
yeah,
But
it's weird because the chicken turns to stone almost instantly when it gets zapped, and yet somehow Fluttershy's stare power seems to slow the changes down. Somehow, it's never really established exactly what the stare is. It's just like one of her abilities, I guess.
yeah,
I
so
don't know.
well, they never actually. Yeah, when they do it to the chicken, I guess because the chicken is smaller too, so it would take
Yeah.
would take a longer time for a pony to be petrified.
Mm.
So, but she managed to stare the cockatrice down, and the cockatrice is like, "Okay, fine." He doesn't actually say it, but he
Yeah,
just goes back.
it
He's like,
doesn't talk
"You're gonna turn back
English.
my friend." It's like, "Okay, fine, whatever." And he does
Yeah.
it, and everything's good.
Yeah, everything's fine, everything's normal, it's happily ever after, la la la.
Yeah, so it's very strange. I mean, they obviously establish that she has this power over animals, but usually it's very a friendly power, not a take charge kind of power. So it's interesting to see this kind
Yeah,
of contrast to that.
yeah, I mean, Fluttershy is sort of established as the gentle one, but she kind of, I mean, it is definitely established that the stare is this sort of, it's her last
It's her
resort.
nuclear option.
Yeah, it's like she has this ability. She doesn't want to use it, but she will if she absolutely needs to.
Right.
And so obviously she ends up having to do it with the cockatrice because it's obviously it's going to turn them all into stone, which wouldn't be very good.
No, it would not. But yeah, she manages to get Vincent to change it back, and all is good. And so yeah, I thought the episode it started off pretty standard, but the last act was really fun. I liked it at that point.
Yeah, well, it goes a bit dark. I like it when the pony gets a bit sort of a darker storyline. It's always sort of more entertaining in
Yeah,
that
because I mean
sense.
you're used to them just kind of it's for kids, but whatever. When they get it dark, it's like the Don Bluth effect.
Mm,
When they could kids can get through something dark as long as you give them something happy at the end.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like Bambi's mum dying, and then all of a sudden it's springtime, which is weird. I still say that's weird.
So then
Moving on.
we move into episode 18, the Showstoppers, which you said going into it that this was a kind of annoying episode.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but it's entertaining enough to get through the annoyance,
Yeah,
I
it's I
think.
didn't think the annoyance was all that bad. It's just that one section near the end,
We'll get to that.
which
We'll get to
I
that.
was actually pretty impressed by, but we'll get into that. Yes, so it
Yeah.
starts off with Applejack giving the Crusaders because of course it has to be another Cutie Mark Crusaders episode. It starts with Applejack giving them their own clubhouse, which is a piece of crap.
Well,
It's a
it's the idea that
fixer-upper, as she says.
yeah, it's a fixer upper. Well, it's the idea it's an old clubhouse. They haven't used it in years, so it's become a bit sort of dilapidated, and it sort of gives them a project to keep them busy. I guess.
Which in another show that might have been a story arc over a couple of episodes, but no, they finished this in about 2 minutes, and it's all fixed up.
Yeah,
And of course, we also get to see what each of the Crusaders are actually good
good
at.
at. Yeah,
So we,
this is something I mentioned before. I sort of mentioned it in passing, but this is the episode where we find out what their talents actually are. But I am currently watching through the fifth season, and we still haven't had them actually get their frigging cutie marks. And okay, we'll probably save the rest of this particular conversation for the end of the episode. But it
right.
really, really irks me. It really, really irks me.
And you're just jumping into season 5 already. We have a long way to go before that. But knowing that these guys are still surging by that point, goddamn.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where, shows don't want to mess with the status quo. That they want things to be stable, they want things to be familiar, so you can just sort of jump into any episode. But they've actually made, certainly in the last sort of most recent seasons, the end of season 3 and the end of season 4. I'm not going to go into too many details, but they have made what you could consider significant changes to the environment in which the characters interact. It changes the landscape, as it were. No, not literally. I'm talking figuratively here. But so the show obviously isn't adverse to change.
But that's what they kind of do in any show that is seasonal. Any show that runs through seasons. If they're going to do any critical changes, they will change it at the beginning or end of the seasons. That's why the season premieres and season finales are always so important. Because
Mm,
usually when there is a critical change or an introduction of a new story arc, it happens at that time. There's
Well,
all kinds of shows that do that.
yeah, I'm hoping that season 5 it will eventually lead to the Cutie Mark Crusaders getting their cutie marks. I don't know yet. We've only had a handful of episodes into the season, and so there's plenty left to go. So I guess it's a case of we'll see what happens. Anyway, I said we'd save this until after you'd
Yeah,
finished
yeah,
explaining
yeah,
the
and you're
episode, and then
getting
we got
into
into it
it.
anyway. So episode.
So yeah, they're all showing their talents, but they try to discover their other ones because they don't recognize what they have. So they're out there feeding animals, climbing mountains, doing hairdressing, psychic abilities. Very, very random choices.
But I think it was just pick something and make it funny.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that they chose very random things. I particularly like the touch with the psychic powers.
That obviously didn't work.
Right.
But yeah, it was just a montage
Yeah, it's just a
scene.
montage. So they're trying to find out what they're good at, even though they don't realize it. Which I guess is what you're saying is so frustrating about this episode is that we know what they're good at, but they don't
Yeah,
know. I'm
we
guessing that's
know.
the joke.
We
That's
we we
obviously
we,
the
we
joke.
are sort of even like Applejack sort of notices that they're ignoring what Applejack and Twilight both sort of recognize that they have these talents, but I mean they do the sensible thing. They leave them to find to discover it
They find it on
themselves.
their own, yeah.
Which I suppose it is the sensible, mature thing to do, but it does just grate a little. As I said, I'm into season 5 now. They still haven't got their freaking cutie mark. It's annoying.
So yeah, they're told about the talent show. So like, yeah, we should participate in that and find out what we're good at. So they give themselves the completely wrong jobs.
Mm.
Is the thing. One of them's doing the music, who should not be doing the music. One is working on the dresses, who should not be doing the dresses, and one is doing the choreography, who should not be doing the choreography.
Exactly. It's like they pick each
They picked
other's
everybody and they
talents.
shifted one to the right.
Yeah, pretty much. Which, of course, ultimately ends in a massive disaster.
They're dressing up like Kiss or something.
Yeah, I
Maybe not
noticed
Kiss,
that
but
as
some
well.
just kind of like punk hair metal band. And the thing that I really love about the musical number in this is how bad it is,
Mm,
because it actually takes a lot of talent to write a bad song when you are a good songwriter. And
yeah.
most of the people who work on the show are decent enough songwriters, so they have to know the kind of mistakes that beginning songwriters make and then make those mistakes with knowledge that they make them. So the was a very kind of layered humor here with the really bad lyrics in the song as well as the bad performance.
Yeah, because I mean, the bad singing is one thing. It's all, it's you just get the wrong kind of voice actor to do bad singing. But yeah, as you say, it's hard to write a bad song. I mean, you say it's a bad song. It's not like a terrible song.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not a terrible song, although it is
the
poorly
lyrics are cheesy.
poorly sung. Though they had some really weird choices of the lyrics, which is what makes it funny
Funny,
in that way. It's funny because it's so bad, and it's bad because it's designed to be bad.
which
That's what's
also makes it
so
even more
interesting about
funny.
it.
See, this is why I said that it's an annoying episode, but also kind of funny episode. It's entertaining in that sense, despite how frustratingly annoying the whole thing becomes in the end.
Yeah, so of course, in the end, they end up winning not for best song, but for best comedy performance.
Yeah. And just when you think they're going to start moving towards the talents, nope, they decide that they're all world class comedians.
Yes, because that's what you want to do with a kid. Encourage them to be funny.
Yeah, well, you don't have to encourage a child to be funny. 9 times out of 10, they will be funny completely on their own.
But no, that's when they're not trying to be funny. When they're trying to be funny, it's just painful.
Well, that's true. But yeah, so as I said, this episode isn't bad, but it gives us information that you think is going to come into something soon, but it doesn't, which makes it frustrating for, sort of long-term fans like myself.
It's kind of like when you're doing something and you see that you have like one thing left to do, and you do that one thing, but then you find out, oh wait, there's one other thing I have left to do, and you do that one thing, it's like, oh wait, there's one more thing I have left to do. If you, at the start you had known you had three things left to do, it would have been fine. But thinking you have one thing left to do every damn time, it gets annoying, which is what happened here. You thinking that they're getting so close to figuring it out, but no, four more
No,
seasons apparently.
yeah, for at least 4 more seasons of them wondering what their cutie marks are. I will say the episodes they are in get better as the seasons go on because, as I said, they sort of start off a bit annoying in the first season, but as the seasons go on, they will grow on you and they become more endearing and sort of kind of cuter, I guess, as they're I think the problem at the moment is that their characters are very big. That they're very loud. They're very so almost childlike in that sense.
Well, they are.
Kids are loud. Kids are always wanting to be seen, and they kind of like that. Like in the Stairmaster episode when they all three of them yell at the top of their lungs. Cutie Mark Crusaders sleep over at Fluttershy's cottage. That's annoying. That's the kind of thing kids do.
Yeah,
But
true.
one of the things they do is they do kind of almost mature and
Yeah,
grow
I
up
was
a
not
little.
thinking of going for that word. They mature, I guess.
Yeah, they do sort of mature and they become sort of, they're still childish and they don't really change the way they act at all. But I think the writers muted them a little. Adults always have this idea of what they think kids are versus what kids are actually like.
Right.
And that's why kids, I think, tend to be annoying in shows a lot because that's how adults see them. I don't know
Yes.
if I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, though.
because the show is obviously written by adults for kids about kids, and you have this like weird layer of sometimes like they remember their own childhood as so pristine, but no, not all the time. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
obviously I thought the better episode was episode 17, the Stairmaster, but
mm,
18 was tolerable. It was okay. Yeah, I can see where it would be frustrating because they know what they're supposed to do, but they just don't do it. I guess that's just supposed to be the irony. That's supposed to be the irony of the humor there.
yeah, I guess. On the bright side, you will be pleased to know that there is only one Cutie Mark Crusaders episode left in the series.
Oh, thank goodness.
And to be perfectly honest, most of that episode doesn't even focus on the Cutie Mark Crusaders.
Oh, yay.
In fact, it's one of my favorite ones in the whole series. But we'll get into that when we get into that. We still got a couple to go before we get there.
So,
So I guess
yeah,
that's it for the ponies.
yeah. Then moving on to Breaking Bad.
Yeah, moving on to Breaking Bad. I really, really liked today's episode.
Oh
Today's
yeah,
episode was
this is a
definitely a
really
good
good
one.
episode.
I mean, one of the reasons I like it is that the episode is actually technically very simplistic because usually in these Breaking Bad things, I have to go jumping between 6 different frigging storylines
Yeah.
that are bouncing around the episode. But in this one, we only have 2 to deal with. So I'm really pleased about this. So hopefully my job today is going to be a little bit easier.
And it's not
But
even really two storylines, it's just there's two halves of the same storyline.
Well, yeah, it's 2 halves of the same story. So, like, all these different plot threads that have been going on in the last couple of episodes have all converged on this one point. So things sort of combine here and then they break off again in the next episode, probably. So anyway, the episode starts again. This kind of thing really is starting to get on my nerves. Actually, it starts with a clip of the end of the episode, and then rewinds after the intro to show us how we got to that situation.
You don't like when they do that?
It's not that I don't like it; I don't mind it at all. But they've done it in almost every single frigging episode of this entire series.
It's a
It's just
motif.
yeah, but it's also annoying when you do it that much. It's so well and good to say, "Oh, here's a mystery. Here's what happens at the end of the episode." But to do it in every episode, it gets annoying. It just
So I
it
guess you weren't
kind
a
of
fan of Columbo.
with the Detective Columbo.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I haven't seen that much of his stuff. But yeah, I don't mind Columbo. Peter Falk's always fun to watch. He's a decent enough actor. But yeah, with Columbo, they don't so much show you the end. They simply tell you who did it at the beginning. Usually, I believe it's starting to get annoying, and I get the feeling eventually I'll just get used to it. Oh, it's just how they do the episodes, and in fact, I'll probably notice more when they don't do it, assuming they ever not do it in the future. But I guess we'll see what happens. Anyway, of course, at the end of the last episode, we had Tuco taking Jesse and Walter hostage and driving off, and that was literally where the episode ended.
Excellent way to cliffhanger an episode.
Oh yeah, they're pretty decent actually with the cliffhangers for the episodes. You know, they're sort of natural cliffhangers that do sort of help to lead into the next one. So what it essentially starts with is Walter's brother-in-law Hank, who, as we know, works at the DEA. It's him in his office talking to his underlings, and
His
and
staff, I guess you would call.
yeah, his staff. And so he's talking to them, and you know, obviously they found Tuco's friend's
Henchman.
body. Yeah, his henchman's body. I can't remember what the hell his name was. Gonzo. That's it. I had it written down there somewhere. So obviously they found his body. Tuco. They tried to raid Tuco's place. They didn't find him. He's gone missing. Of course, we know where. And so obviously Skylar is worried that Walter has gone missing because the previous episode, he sort of walked in. He was kind of bemused and confused about what was going on with Tuco at the time, and Skylar was in the bath. And then, of course, he got taken outside, and Tuco drove off with him. So obviously, they all know that Walter is gone. So on that side of the episode, you've got Hank and Skylar and Walter Jr. and even Hank's wife Marie. Skylar and Marie actually start talking again in this episode. They're all out looking for Walter. Obviously, Hank's using his connections to sort of and his sort of detective instinct to help track Walter down. Not too much happens with that. They hire I'm not sure who that guy was. Was he like a private investigator or was he a detective?
I think he's a private investigator with like connected to the DEA because, of course, Hank didn't expect that the two stories would end up converging. That
Obviously.
he's searching for Walt and he ends up finding Tuco.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So they've got this guy who's actively going to be looking for Walter. Meanwhile, Hank goes and decides to do some sort of investigating, sort of on the side, as it were. And so that kind of that ultimately leads Hank to Jesse, or to start looking for Jesse, and that will inevitably lead him to Tuco. But we'll get to that. Meanwhile, while all that's going on, Tuco is obviously holding Walter and Jesse hostage in a really good sort of tense situation because you know that Tuco is a few cards short of a deck.
Yes, he's
Uh,
capable of anything.
yeah, you don't know what he's going to do at any given moment, which was one of the reasons why they wanted him dead in the previous episode. So Tuco takes him to this sort of rundown little house, which I don't know. Was that actually supposed to be where he lives?
I don't think
Because
so. He tends to live in like his just kind of his empire. I'm guessing that's just kind of like a hideout that he has, like a farm or somewhere.
yeah,
It's
it's
pretty
kind of
much
a
in the middle of
hideout.
nowhere.
But the reason why I wonder if that was where he lives was because you had that old guy there. You never actually find out his name. Tuco just calls him Tio, which you said means
Uncle. It's
uncle.
he. Sometimes he's known as Tio, but it's his dad. His full name is Hector Salamanca,
Oh, so,
and he
so you
actually
actually become a main character
yes,
then.
well, not really a main character, but he is kind of a important character later. He's actually a kind of a fan favorite, honestly. A lot of
Right.
people really liked how his character is.
Oh, fair enough. I wasn't sure if he was gonna come in again, so that'll be interesting to see where that goes because he knows Walter's real name. Yeah, so that's one of the things that Tuco discovers because he sort of goes through their wallets and everything, and he finds out that Heisenberg's real name is Walter White. So anyway, long story short, they try again to poison him using their
The ricin,
poison.
yeah.
Yeah, their rice and meth, which they get within inches of, literally inches of. And Jesse just says something that completely puts Tuco off.
He told him that he added a special ingredient to it. He added his chili powder.
Yeah,
You idiot, Jesse. And
it was
if
this
all he had to
close.
say was nothing, he said nothing more, they would have been out of it, but no.
Mm, yeah, well,
So of
but
course later you
anyway,
have Walter berating him for that you had to say he had the chili powder, didn't you?
yeah, well, in Jesse's defense, he didn't know that Tuco wasn't going to like chili powder. But yeah, so they try that and it fails. And Tuco is essentially holding them hostage because he knows that the DEA is after them, and he believes that Gonzo went to the cops and told them everything, which obviously pisses him off even more. And his plan is to run to Mexico and to take Walter with him because Walter is like the best drug meth creator he's ever known, and Tuco doesn't want to let him go.
Yeah, he
Um,
obviously doesn't want to kill Walter because you don't kill your cow. You don't
yeah,
kill the
obviously,
cash cow.
yeah. He's rather indifferent about killing Jesse though. Well, he wants to kill Jesse, but obviously Walter doesn't want to let him do that. So they are waiting for some of Tuco's friends to show up later that evening. So they kind of spend the day there, and it's all very calm and relaxing. And Tuco ends up cooking them some food, which I thought was kind of nice of him. He could have just let them go hungry. And they try to poison him with the meth, to trying to get him to swallow it. Unfortunately, the old guy, Tio, whatever the hell his real name was, he sees them doing it and effectively warns Tuco off. And the old guy can't talk, I don't think. I mean, he had like an oxygen machine
Yeah, he has trouble
connected to
talking.
his
I don't
nose.
know exactly what his problem is, but he can't talk. He can't move very well.
Yeah, he's probably some sort of clearly the guy's very old, so it's probably like
Yes.
maybe some form of dementia, perhaps. Walter mentioned that, or some degenerative disease. Clearly not very pleasant. But what he does is he communicates by ringing a bell, and using this bell, he actually manages to not exactly tell Tuco what happened, but effectively tell them that Walter and Jesse are up to no good. And that leads Tuco to start trying to kill Jesse. They go outside, and by pure luck, they actually manage to overpower Tuco. Jesse smashes his head with a rock. Walter grabs the rifle that he was using at the time, and Jesse grabs his gun, and they just sort of push him into this ditch just to get rid of him. They go to run away, only to realize that Tuco had the keys to Jesse's car. Always forget the keys, don't you? You
He always
always forget the keys.
Hmm.
And in the distance, they see this car coming towards them, and they assume that it's
Yeah, they assume that's
friends
his
coming to
cousins that
collect
are.
him. Yeah, his cousins. So, of course, whilst all that's going on, Hank has been trying to track Jesse down, as I mentioned earlier, and it turns out that Jesse's car has what's it called, a low jack? It's essentially a tracking device, and it turns out the person driving towards the place was actually Hank the whole time. Of course, Hank is kind of surprised to see Tuco there,
Yeah, you did not expect.
understandably, especially seeing at the beginning of the episode he pretty much said that they're not going to find him and that he's already down in Mexico by now.
Yeah, you didn't expect to see him. He totally thought it was Jesse, but no, that's the guy you've been looking for when you're not even looking for him.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure there's some
There's
sort of
there's
poetic meaning
cosmic
there,
cosmic things going on here, isn't there? It's all connected, and
like poetry. It rhymes.
so it ends up with a nice little shootout between Hank and Tuco. Obviously, Hank doesn't die. Tuco does end up getting killed, and we end up right back where we were at the beginning of the freaking episode. Of course, while this is going on, Walter and Jesse are hiding, and then when Hank is distracted with Tuco's body, they hightail it out of there,
Yeah,
which I thought
because
was a bit obvious.
yeah, because
Sure,
obviously Walter can't let Hank see him. He can't let him know that he's involved in this. Even though
I'm
he is searching for him, he can't let him find him there because he would have a lot to explain.
Yeah, to be honest, that's kind of where I'm wondering what's going to happen in the next episode. Like, Jesse needs to explain to Hank what the hell his car was doing there. Walter needs to explain where the hell he's been for the last 24 hours. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered here, and I'm kind of curious what the hell they're going to come up with to get this out of it. Obviously, they will. They obviously will, because obviously this goes on for several more seasons. But it's curious to see what they're going to come up with. And I did like how at the end of the episode it just ended with that old guy ringing the bell on his thing again. Just Hank standing over Tuco's body, looking down at him, thinking, "What the fuck just happened here?" And you just hear that guy ringing his bell.
Ding, ding.
Ding. And it goes through the credits as well. When the theme music's playing, they add the bell in as well. I thought that was great. So yeah, it's really, really good episode. It's really sort of tense throughout with a good sort of bit of action at the end to sort of round everything off. It was a really good episode. I mean, technically not a lot actually advanced in the story. The only big thing was really Tuco dying, which I pretty much kind of saw coming anyway. The guy was a psychopath. They were gonna get rid of him
He
one
had
way
to
or
he
the other.
had to get rid of him somehow. Yeah.
Although I find it hilarious that back to square one where they were before they even met Tuco,
Yeah,
and
they're left without a distributor.
yeah, exactly. So here's hoping that the next one they come across is a little more stable. Although I don't know if the chances of that are very good because I kind of get the feeling that particular role in life would attract a certain kind of person.
Well,
Um,
I will say they do manage to get a new
Distributor.
distributor, and he is a much more stable person than Tuco.
Well, I would hope so. So I guess we'll sort of see what happens on that. So yeah, a sort of nice simplistic episode, not really
Yeah, I
too
always
much to
love
tell you.
shows or movies that are just set within like either one location or take place in real time. Because
Yeah, I mean this
that's
episode.
always where it really shines. If you have a really good writer, you can do a lot with a just a simple idea like that.
Well, I guess that's why 24 always sort of took off. Although 24 isn't quite in real time. It's like 1 hour takes 45 minutes. What?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know you got to shoehorn in adverts, but seriously. But anyway, yeah, a good episode. Obviously, definitely looking forward to the next one because I really want to see how they weasel their way out of this particular predicament they've got themselves in. So yes, are you going to leave me with another? Oh, I wonder what 737 means.
No, I think I told you enough that there's characters that are coming down the line that you'll get to
Well,
know
I should hope
better.
so. Yeah, so yeah, things are getting interesting. Obviously, we'll see where it goes. Yeah, not too much else to say. Really, really good episode. Definitely one of the best ones.
So yeah, that's I guess that's gonna do it for Breaking Ponies today, and we will see you folks next time.
Yep. Goodbye.
Bye bye.